Rachel Reeves' decision to suspend winter fuel payment for many pensioners to make sure that it's means tested is going to take a lot of time. That will cost money as well. And the savings which I think she's going to make in such a short period of time are going to be offset by the bureaucracy and the cost of that bureaucratic process. And it seems deeply unfair that people who were already planning on having that winter fuel payment should now suddenly find that that's gone. The change, announced as a measure to address the 22 billion deficit in public finances, has been met with criticism, rightly, from various quarters because of the speed with which it's being enacted, and by people in the Scottish Government. Catherine Crawford, the CEO of Age Scotland, has strong opposition, describing the decision as short-termism and expressing surprise at the move. She's highlighted the plight of pensioners in Scotland, where, of course, it's significantly colder, noting that 39% live in poverty. And she's questioned the morality of removing a benefit that's crucial for many, especially when a significant number of eligible pensioners fail to claim pension credit because of the complexity of that. And this is to add further complexity to something that is relatively simple. Her concerns are echoed by Debbie Horne from Independent Age, who labelled the decision as social injustice. Horne emphasised the potential health risks and the increased NHS costs associated with pensioners being unable to afford adequate heating. The Scottish Government, represented by Public Finance Minister Evan McKee and Social Justice Secretary Shirley-Anne Somerville, also expressed disappointment at the news. They criticised the lack of consultation and highlighted the financial implications for Scotland, estimating a reduction in funding by up to £160 million. The Scottish Government is now faced with the challenge of mitigating the impact on pensioners, particularly as Scotland has a high proportion of elderly citizens living in fuel poverty. In contrast, proponents of the decisions, including government spokespersons and some media outlets like GB News, argue that the move is a necessary step towards fiscal responsibility. The necessary step towards fiscal responsibility, I would say, would be to abolish HS2 completely. They emphasise, GB News emphasises that targeting benefits to those most in need is fair and justified given the dire state of public finances. GB News, for example, has suggested that pensioners are not universally struggling, and the government's approach aims to provide stability while protecting those truly in need. This policy change underscores a broader debate about social justice and economic efficiency. While the government's intention to manage a challenging fiscal situation is understandable, the means testing of the winter fuel payment risks marginalising a vulnerable section of our society, and the universal nature of the benefit previously ensured broad-based support and avoided the stigma often associated with means-tested programmes. And also the time and the bureaucracy involved in managing that. The potential administrative burden of means testing and the risk of eligible pensioners missing out on essential support because of an oversight are valid concerns. Moreover, the decision comes at a time when the cost of living, particularly high energy costs, is a significant issue for many. The cold winters in Scotland and other parts of the UK exacerbate the risk for elderly individuals, making the removal of this support particularly concerning. The argument that pensioners can access other benefits and discounts doesn't fully address the immediate and specific needs of the winter fuel payment. So while fiscal prudence is necessary, the implementation of such policies should consider the broader implications on specific groups, particularly in the colder areas of our country. The government needs to ensure that measures are in place to protect the most vulnerable and that sufficient support is provided by those who may be adversely affected by this decision. The dialogue between the UK and the Scottish governments is crucial in navigating the challenge of being a pensioner and finding and for the government, whether this is in Scotland or in Westminster, to have a balanced approach that ensures both economic stability and social equity. And I'm not sure that that's the case at the moment. I think Rachel Reeves is indulging in rhetoric rather than looking at reality. Reality is a much more complex beast. And as for GB News would argues that there's that pensioners can get a cold weather payment of £25. They can get savings on council tax, discounted rail fares. So if they're cold, they can always go for a journey somewhere. Then get a free TV license. They can indulge they can huddle up to the TV. They can get eye tests so that they can check their meter. This is nonsense. They can get free prescriptions of what? Heat. It's you know, for those people who have reached pension age, the national insurance cuts 430 odd pounds a week. It's not as practical, and it's not as immediately efficacious as a fuel payment. We need to keep people warm in the winter. It's as simple as that.